Morning. And thanks for coming in and making time for us this morning.
Thank you.
Let's start with your story and how or why you actually decided to become a journalist.
I became a journalist when I was 7 years old, when I saw that there was not enough journalists to cover things that happens in my village, Nabi Saleh, and like in Palestine, like when my friend Mustafa had been killed, my uncle Rushdie had been killed. A lot of things happened in the world, didn't know about our feelings as children living under occupation. So I wanted to cover things that happens with us as Palestinian children and send our message to the world, send our suffering as children living under occupation. So I started documenting everything happening.
So what are the stories that you actually tell?
I tell whatever happens, from raids, from clashes, from Israeli occupation coming to arrest children, to kill children, from me while I'm going to my school and there are checkpoints that stops me from going to school. Even if they didn't stop me, instead of going to my school in 25 minutes, I have to go to my school in 3 hours. So I cover whatever the occupation does from violation from our rights as Palestinian children living under occupation.
Now, Janna, I mean, in the past, and you must be aware that, I mean, even seasoned journalists, even veteran, older journalists would probably, be afraid to go into some of these areas, covering these stories in the Middle East and in Palestine. Do you go out looking for these stories? Do you run to a scene? I'm just trying to picture in my mind what happens so that you are able to write these stories. How do you get to them?
I don't go to stories. My house is the first house of the village, so everything from clashes, from raids happens near my house. Mostly if you went to my Facebook page, you'll see mostly kind of like 80% of my videos are from my window of my room or from my house.
So the story comes to you?
Yeah, the story comes to me.
Okay, well, many might consider you lucky in some ways, but unlucky in other ways, Janna. So do you write? You mentioned videos. You obviously document this, you film this. How exactly do you do your work? Where would we find it?
You can find it on our page, Shamsan, Two Sons, or on my Facebook page, Janna Jihad. But our I document it with usually my phone or my mom's phone, like speaking like a small report, 2 to 3 minutes, or even sometimes 1 minute, just speaking about what happens in front of me. Mostly I do live videos because it's like who knows when soldiers come, so I just open my live video and start documenting.
So what was your scariest moment, seeing as the story comes to you and you don't get to pick and choose where you want to go? What was the scariest experience you've had, if you can tell us?
Before a month, actually before coming to South Africa, in about 2 weeks, I woke up on the sound of screaming near my window, so I just looked from the window. I saw our 19 years old cousin getting killed in front of me. So it was like about 9 a.m. in the morning, and like just only us as children, we were just awake. So we just soldiers shot him. It was only him and another boy in the garden, and they shot him 2 bullets. One came in his heart and one came in his neck. So we as children tried to go and to save him. They didn't let us. They put the gun on us. We saw him getting killed. They started to hit him for about whole 10 minutes with their legs while he was bleeding. They didn't let us take him to the hospital, so they let him on the floor for 30 minutes bleeding. So it was bad that my cousin had been traumatized from seeing it, so it's really difficult.
Who's they when you say they in that incident?
Israeli occupation soldiers.
So you started covering stories, seeing things like this from the time you were 7, probably before. Do you feel that this has forced you to grow up way ahead, way before your time?
Of course, as a 12 years old child, I have to be now playing, doing normal things as a child. But because of that occupation, we as Palestinian children didn't live our childhood, didn't know what does childhood mean. Even when we try to play, when we try to live our childhood, Israeli occupation just raid the village, shoot our gas canisters because of us playing in the street, soccer, playing any game.
Well, Janna, I certainly wish that it was different for you. I mean, I'm sure many people watching today wish that your life had been different, but of course, somebody has to tell the stories. Are you going to continue? Are you going to be a journalist? Is that the career you've chosen?
Yes, of course. Like, you mean in the future?
In future, as a grown-up,
I'm gonna be 5 things.
5 things? What are they?
First thing, I'm going to study political science to know more about the governments around the world. Second thing, I'm going to be a journalist. Like, of course, Palestine will be free, but I'm going to cover things that happens with other children around the world. Third thing, I'm going to be an artist to send my message for the children in a better way. Fourth thing, I'm going to be a fashion designer to design more of the Palestinian traditional dresses and make it the fashion for those years. Fifth and last thing, I'm going to be a soccer player to rise my country name higher.
Wow. Well, I have no doubt you are going to accomplish every single one of those things. And hopefully, if I am still here, I'm going to be talking to you maybe in about 20 years or so, even 10 years from now. Very quickly, your schedule, there's a movie about your life. You're here. It's part of the activities you're going to be involved in. Tell us very quickly.
Yeah, actually, there are some movies, and we screened my film Radiance of Resistance that shows out my life living under occupation, me and my cousin Atta Mimi. We showed it in Durban, and we're also showing it here in Johannesburg on Saturday. So welcome for everybody.
Okay, yeah, you're going to be doing lots of things, skateboarding and youth engagement, the screening of Radiance of Resistance, engagement with Jewish youth. That's going to be very interesting. Yes. Art and craft, like you say, art as well. Lots going on with you, and I'm in awe of you, Janna, and I hope that this doesn't mean I'm going to lose my job, but I'm going to ask you, do you have aspirations to be on TV? Would you like to be on TV, other than, would you like to be doing the interviewing at some point? Would you like to be a TV journalist?
Yes, of course. I'm going to be making a lot of places or more than one TV stations to cover everything that happens with other children that suffers, because social media now is a really important thing in life.
Wonderful.
So.